Over $14 billion worth of cargo has suddenly vanished from the port of Los Angeles. The flow of shipments is dropping fast, and China hasn't even flinched. It simply walked away. The U.S. economy is feeling the shockwaves of a trade war move that's now spiraling. Former President Trump's massive tariff hike caused an immediate drop in U.S. imports, leaving retailers scrambling and warning that store shelves could go empty in just a few weeks. This isn't a hypothetical scenario, it's already unfolding. Overnight, billions in shipments were wiped from America's inbound supply chain. And the cause? Not a strike, not a cyber attack, just one economic decision. On April 2, Trump's administration raised tariffs on Chinese imports to 145%, prompting Beijing to halt a huge portion of its trade with the U.S. Gene Seroka, executive director of the Port of Los Angeles, told CNBC that cargo volume is projected to drop by over 35% compared to last year, a decrease worth about $10 billion in merchandise. The reason is simple: top American retailers have stopped shipping goods from China. But if the products aren't arriving, what's the backup plan? The intent behind the tariff was to push China back into negotiations. But so far, Beijing remains silent, and American importers are bearing the brunt. According to Bloomberg, cargo vessels from Chinese ports to the U.S. West Coast have dropped by 40% since early April, which means roughly 320,000 containers are just sitting at origin, never shipped. One of the world's largest shipping companies, Hapag-Lloyd, has confirmed a 30% cancellation rate in China, U.S. bookings in just a single week. This isn't a warning anymore, it's already affecting supply chains and businesses. Jim Gerson, head of a Kansas-based seasonal goods company, relies on China for more than half his inventory. He says 250 of his containers worth tens of millions are now stuck. His business depends on precise timing to deliver holiday products. Miss the shipping window, and those goods are no longer valuable, they're outdated. Seroka warned that retailers might have only 5 to 7 weeks of inventory left before customers notice. First, variety will vanish. Imagine needing a blue shirt but only finding purple ones in the wrong size. That's not a small problem, it's the beginning of something much bigger. Major chains like Walmart and Target are already raising alarms about possible price hikes and limited product availability. According to surveys, U.S. imports are on track to fall by 7% annually in the second quarter of 2025, the steepest decline since the COVID-19 crisis. Jay Foreman, CEO of toy manufacturer Basic Fun, calls the situation a de facto embargo. His company depends on China for 90% of its inventory. If tariffs stay high, he expects cancelled orders to spike soon. We're still in the early phase, but the damage will grow quickly if nothing changes. Bloomberg's data shows container volume from China to the U.S. has already dropped by a third. The question isn't whether the slowdown is happening, it's whether trade can resume in time to save this year's critical retail seasons. Even if tariffs were removed today, the freight system can't bounce back instantly. Lars Jensen of Vespucci Maritime warns that sudden restarts cause bottlenecks. Ports aren't designed for such erratic flow. We saw this during COVID when container prices soared and goods were delayed for weeks. But this time, the disruption is policy-driven, not pandemic-induced. The longer it lasts, the bigger the mess. And if businesses can't rely on predictable trade routes, they may begin shifting away permanently. April alone saw 80 cancelled sailings from China to the U.S., a 60% increase compared to the worst months of the pandemic. Analysts say the shipping industry is slashing capacity to stop freight prices from collapsing. But that means fewer jobs, idle ships, and abandoned routes. Some retailers are now sourcing from Southeast Asia countries like Vietnam and Cambodia, but these regions can't yet match China's volume or speed. So, are these stopgaps sustainable? Or are we just buying time? This isn't just a story about American shipments and tariffs, it's about the entire economic chain. March through May is the window for back-to-school prices, holiday goods, job losses, and shrinking choices don't arrive already by then, creeping in. Shelves will stay empty until late 2025. If this trade freeze holds through the summer, this is a fragile moment. Damage is still manageable, America, but not for long. Drop your thoughts in the comments because the next round of data could more cancellations by mid-May. There's been no visible progress in U.S. China trade talks since the tariffs took effect. And while Treasury officials call the situation unsustainable, no new deals are in the works. Some fear this standstill could lead to permanent shifts in global trade. Businesses that rely on smooth logistics are now being forced into uncertainty. And if trade becomes unpredictable, consumer prices and confidence will take a hit. This isn't just a story about shipments and tariffs, it's about the entire economic chain. Missed deliveries, higher prices, job losses, and